In the vast windswept plains of Eldoria, where the golden fields stretched endlessly under a relentless sun, two mighty armies faced each other like ancient titans awakened from slumber. The kingdom of Aetheria, led by the valiant King Theron, stood on the northern ridge, their banners fluttering defiantly in the breeze. To the south, the Empire of Shadowvale, commanded by the ruthless Empress Valeria, prepared for the inevitable clash. But this was no mere tale of conquest. It was a story woven with threads of fate, love, and unbreakable will. At the heart of Aetheria's forces was Captain Elias Hawthorne, a man whose name evoked images of steadfast oaks and unyielding mountains. With piercing blue eyes that held the depth of forgotten oceans and a jawline carved from marble, Elias was not just a soldier but a poet of the battlefield. He had risen from humble origins, a blacksmith's son who forged his destiny in the fires of war. Yet beneath his armored exterior beat a heart yearning for peace, a heart that secretly dreamed of a world without the clamor of steel. Opposite him in the ranks of Shadowvale stood Lieutenant Seraphina Voss, a woman whose beauty was as fierce as the storm she commanded. Her raven hair cascaded like midnight rivers, and her emerald eyes sparkled with the fire of 1,000 stars. Seraphina was no delicate flower. She was a tempest, trained in the art of strategy and survival from a young age. Orphaned by a previous war, she had sworn loyalty to the Empire, believing it to be her path to justice. But whispers of doubt lingered in her soul, questioning the endless cycle of violence. The day before the battle, as scouts reported the enemy's movements, Elias rode out alone to survey the field. The open expanse was a sea of swaying grass, dotted with wildflowers that seemed oblivious to the impending doom. He dismounted his steed Orion and knelt to touch the earth, feeling its pulse beneath his fingers. "Why must we spill blood here?" he murmured to the wind. Unbeknownst to him, Seraphina had ventured forth on a similar reconnaissance, her mare Luna carrying her silently through the shadows. Their paths crossed at a lone oak tree in the center of the field, a neutral sentinel amid the brewing storm. Elias spotted her first, a silhouette against the setting sun. Instinctively he drew his sword, but something in her gaze halted him. "Who goes there?" he called, his voice steady yet laced with curiosity. Seraphina raised her hand in a gesture of truce. "A seeker of truth, much like yourself, I suspect." Her accent was melodic, a blend of imperial sharpness and hidden softness. They spoke under the tree's canopy, sharing stories of lost homes and shattered dreams. For a fleeting moment the war faded, and they were just two souls connecting in the vast emptiness. Elias learned of her love for ancient lore, how she collected fragments of forgotten poems. Seraphina discovered his hidden talent for sketching landscapes capturing beauty amid chaos. As night fell, they parted with a promise unspoken, a hope that tomorrow's dawn might bring mercy. But duty called them back to their lines where drums of war began to beat. Elias addressed his troops. "We fight not for glory, but for the homes we cherish. Stand firm, brothers and sisters." Seraphina, rallying her own, declared, "For the Empire's honor we press forward. Let no fear chain us." The first rays of dawn illuminated the field, and the armies advanced. Horns blared and the ground trembled under marching feet. Elias atop his ridge locked eyes with the distant figure he knew to be Seraphina. In that instant, the world narrowed to a single, heartbreaking truth. Enemies by circumstance, kindred, spirits by fate. The open field erupted into pandemonium as the two armies collided like crashing waves. Arrows whistled through the air, a deadly rain that darkened the sky. Cannons roared from both sides, their thunderous blasts shaking the earth and sending plumes of smoke billowing upward. Elias charged forward on Orion, his sword gleaming in the morning light. "For Aetheria!" he bellowed, leading his cavalry into the fray. Seraphina, at the vanguard of Shadowvale's infantry, wielded her dual blades with graceful ferocity. "Hold the line," she commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos like a clarion call. The clash was brutal. Steel met steel, shields splintered, and cries of agony mingled with shouts of defiance. Bodies fell like autumn leaves, staining the golden grass crimson. In the midst of the melee, Elias spotted a breach in the enemy lines. He spurred Orion onward, his heart pounding not just from adrenaline but from the memory of the woman under the oak. "Push through," he urged his men. But as he advanced, a volley of gunfire erupted from Shadowvale's ranks. Orion reared in pain, struck by a stray bullet, throwing Elias to the ground. Dazed, he rose, sword in hand, fending off attackers with desperate swings. Seraphina, witnessing the fall from afar, felt a pang she couldn't ignore. "No," she whispered, her mind flashing to their shared words. Defying orders, she broke formation, weaving through the battlefield like a shadow. She reached Elias just as an Imperial soldier raised his axe to strike. With a swift motion, she parried the blow, her blade singing through the air. "Stand down!" she snarled at her own comrade, who hesitated in confusion. Elias stared at her, breathless. "Why?" he gasped, blood trickling from a gash on his arm. "Because this war is a lie," she replied, her eyes fierce. "We've been pawns in a game of thrones. Join me, end this madness." In that moment, amid the gunfire and screams, they fought back to back. An unlikely alliance forged in fire. Elias's strength complemented Seraphina's agility. Together, they repelled waves of soldiers from both sides who mistook them for traitors. Word spread through the ranks like wildfire. Some Aetherians saw Elias's stand as betrayal, others as heroism. In Shadowvale, whispers of Seraphina's defiance ignited doubt. The battle raged on, but cracks appeared in the unyielding facades. A young Aetherian archer, inspired by Elias, lowered his bow and called for parley. An Imperial medic, moved by Seraphina's courage, tended to wounded foes. As the sun climbed higher, the firing intensified. Cannons boomed relentlessly, carving craters in the field. Elias and Seraphina pressed toward the center, aiming for the oak tree, a symbol of their fragile bond. But tragedy struck. A cannonball exploded nearby, shattering the ancient trunk and sending shards flying. Seraphina was hit, a deep wound in her side. She collapsed into Elias's arms, her breath ragged. "Hold on, Seraphina," he pleaded, tearing cloth to staunch the bleeding. "We can stop this." She smiled weakly, her hand on his cheek. Perhaps, in another life. The armies, seeing their leader's vulnerability, hesitated. The firing slowed, replaced by an uneasy silence. The open field, once a canvas of beauty, now lay scarred and silent. Smoke hung heavy in the air, and the moans of the injured echoed like ghosts. Elias cradled Seraphina under the remnants of the oak, his tears mingling with her blood. "Don't leave me," he whispered, his voice breaking. With labored breaths, Seraphina revealed a hidden truth. The war was orchestrated by corrupt advisors on both sides, profiting from endless conflict. "Expose them," she urged. "Unite our people." Her words ignited a fire in Elias. Rallying survivors from both armies, he proposed a truce. "We've bled enough. Let us build instead of destroy." To his surprise, soldiers from Shadowvale nodded in agreement, their faces etched with exhaustion. King Theron and Empress Valeria, witnessing the shift from afar, rode forth. Confronted with evidence, Seraphina had smuggled letters proving the conspiracy. They had no choice but to stand down. The advisors were arrested and a council formed to negotiate peace. Seraphina's wound proved mortal, but in her final moments, she found solace in Elias's eyes. "You were my open field," she murmured, her hand slipping from his. She passed as the sun set, casting a golden glow over the battlefield, a poignant farewell. In the years that followed, Elias honored her memory by leading the United Realms toward prosperity. He planted a new oak in the field's center, a monument to lost love and hard-won peace. The plains bloomed anew, wildflowers reclaiming the scars. Elias often visited, sketching the horizon, whispering tales to the wind. The story of Elias and Seraphina became legend, a powerful reminder that even in the heart of war, humanity could prevail. Two armies had fired at each other, but in the end, it was love that conquered the open field.